On the night of February 28, 2026, the United States of America launched one of the most consequential military operations in decades. Not in the shadows, not through a proxy, directly, not openly. Against Iran. Within hours, the Supreme Leader of Iran was dead. His nuclear facilities rubble, and the Strait of Hormuz was closed. Gas prices in the United States spiked 37% in 5 weeks. 2 American fighter jets have been shot down. 1 pilot is still missing. This is week 6 of a war that many said would never happen. So how did we get here? And what exactly does America want? Why is America at war with Iran? To understand what's happening right now, you have to go back. Iran and the United States have been locked in a Cold War for nearly 50 years. Ever since the 1979 Islamic Revolution toppled America's ally, the Shah, and Iranian students seized the U.S. embassy and held 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. But the issue that has defined the modern conflict is one word: nuclear. For decades, Iran insisted its nuclear program was for peaceful civilian energy. For decades, the United States and Israel didn't believe them. In 2015, a landmark deal, the JCPOA, was struck. Iran agreed to limit its enrichment in exchange for relief from crippling economic sanctions. International inspectors were allowed in. Then, in 2018, President Trump pulled out of the deal. His administration said Iran was cheating. Iran disputed that. And once the deal collapsed, Iran began stockpiling enriched uranium at a pace the world had never seen from them before. By June 2025, the IAEA reported that Iran had accumulated enough enriched uranium to produce 9 nuclear warheads. 9. That number terrified Washington. It terrified Tel Aviv even more. By the time Donald Trump returned to the White House in 2025, the situation had already begun to boil over. Israel, which had been watching Iran's nuclear program for years, had started to act. In the years prior, Iran's so-called axis of resistance, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, had been systematically weakened by Israeli military operations. The October 7th attacks in 2023 had triggered a war in Gaza that reverberated across the entire region. Iran exchanged direct missile strikes with Israel in April and October of 2024. And then, on June 13, 2025, Israel struck Iran directly. A 12-day war that damaged key nuclear facilities, killed senior Iranian military commanders, and shook the regime to its core. America supported it. America even participated, bombing 3 of Iran's main nuclear sites in an operation the White House called Operation Midnight Hammer. A ceasefire came, but the underlying conflict did not go away. Back in Washington, Trump launched what his team called a maximum pressure campaign, the most aggressive economic squeeze on Iran since the Obama era. He wrote a personal letter to Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei demanding nuclear negotiations. He set a deadline, 60 days. Talks began in April 2025, mediated by Oman, for rounds in Muscat, Rome, Geneva. There were moments of cautious optimism. Iran's foreign minister called a deal within reach, but the deadline passed. And then, in late 2025, something else happened. Iranians took to the streets. Starting in December 2025, the largest protest since Iran's 1979 revolution erupted across all 31 provinces. The trigger, a collapsing economy, 50-year high inflation, and years of government repression. Thousands chanted not just for reform, but for the end of the Islamic Republic itself. Khamenei's regime responded with massacres. Estimates of the death toll range from 3,000 to 30,000, depending on the source. Hospitals were overwhelmed. The internet was cut in the longest blackout ever recorded. Reports emerged that Khamenei himself had retreated to a bunker beneath Tehran. The world watched in horror. In Washington, Trump issued a stark warning. The United States was watching. and that was building up its military in the region, the largest concentration of American air and naval power in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. By February 20th, 2026, Trump issued a 10-day ultimatum: make a deal or face the consequences. 3 days later, at the State of the Union, he told America and Iran exactly where he stood. He accused Iran of reviving its nuclear weapons program and developing missiles capable of threatening Europe, U.S. bases abroad, and eventually the American homeland itself. The third and final round of Geneva talks took place on February 26th. Both sides were, by all accounts, still far apart. 2 days later, the bombs fell. February 28, 2026. Before dawn, Iranian airspace lit up. American and Israeli aircraft struck sites across Iran simultaneously: military installations, missile infrastructure, nuclear facilities. Most significantly, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and several senior Iranian officials were assassinated in the opening hours of the campaign. The stated goals, according to the Trump administration, were destroy Iran's nuclear program, eliminate its missile capabilities, and achieve regime change. By empowering Iran's opposition, Iran struck back immediately. Ballistic missiles and suicide drones were launched at Israel.us. Military bases across the region and in American-allied Arab states, Kuwait, Bahrain, the UAE, housing U.S. Forces.uk bases in Bahrain, Qatar, and Cyprus were also hit. And then Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Through it flows roughly 20% of the world's oil. When Iran closed it, global energy markets convulsed. American gas prices jumped 37% in 5 weeks. The International Energy Agency released 400 million barrels of strategic reserves to try to stabilize prices. The world's largest economies were put on notice. In the weeks that followed, the war expanded in scope and intensity. Israeli strikes escalated in Lebanon, displacing over 1 million civilians. Iranian drones hit oil refineries in Kuwait and sparked fires near nuclear facilities in Bushehr. The Bushehr nuclear power plant was struck on the perimeter, triggering comparisons to Zaporizhia in Ukraine. And as of this week, week 6, 2 American fighter jets have been shot down over Iran. One F-15E Strike Eagle, one A-10 Warthog lost near the Strait of Hormuz. 2 crew members were rescued. 1 American airman is still missing. With search and rescue operations underway, Iran celebrated publicly. Iranian officials called it proof that the country's military had not been destroyed. So where does this stand today? Militarily, the United States and Israel continue to prosecute a wide-ranging air campaign across Iran. Targets have expanded beyond military and nuclear sites to include industrial infrastructure, steel plants, cement factories, petrochemical complexes. This week, Trump shared footage of a U.S. strike that destroyed a major bridge west of Tehran and threatened to target Iran's power grid and water desalination stations. Time is running out, Trump warned, demanding Iran fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz by Monday. Iran's response? Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian addressed the world, calling Trump's threat to bomb Iran back to the Stone Ages a clear admission of intent to commit a massive war crime. He appealed to Finland's president. He called on the international community to not remain neutral. On the diplomatic front, the situation is complicated, the U.S. State Department insists America is open to a deal. The president always prefers diplomacy, a State Department spokesperson told Al Jazeera this week. But they also added that the United States will see its objectives fulfilled. Iran says there can be no deal while bombs are falling. The international community is divided. China, Russia, and most of the global South have condemned the strikes. The UK, France, and Germany condemned Iran's counterstrikes on civilian areas and called for a resumption of diplomacy. NATO allies have been asked by Trump to help secure the Strait. So far, all have declined. India, notably, has resumed purchasing Iranian oil for the first time in 7 years, a sign that the global economic reshuffling is underway. Inside Iran, the picture is murky. Since Khamenei's death, a successor leadership has not been fully consolidated. The protests that preceded the war have not stopped. But whether the Iranian people view an American bombing campaign as liberation or as aggression is a question that cannot be answered simply. At least 2,076 Iranians have been killed in U.S.-Israeli strikes since February 28th, according to Iran's own health ministry. Independent verification is nearly impossible, given the near-total internet blackout inside the country. So what does the United States actually want from this war? That depends on which official you ask. Some say the objective is narrow: destroy Iran's nuclear program and missile capabilities before Tehran can develop a weapon. This is the non-proliferation argument, the same logic, in theory, that justified the 2025 12-day war. Others in the administration have spoken about permanent regime change, replacing the Islamic Republic with a government more favorable to the West. This is a far more ambitious and historically dangerous goal. The United States has pursued regime change in the Middle East before. The results have not always been what Washington expected. A third framing, which has emerged more recently, centers on Iran's oil. Specifically, Trump's stated desire to secure Iran's resources and the strait through which much of the world's energy flows. Then there are the questions that don't have easy answers. Was Iran actually on the verge of building a nuclear bomb? The IAEA said it had no evidence of a structured weapons program when the war began. Trump's own intelligence chief, Tulsi Gabbard, told Congress just last year that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon. Iran has consistently denied seeking one, though it has also refused to allow inspections of its damaged sites since 2025. And there's the matter of legitimacy. The UN Security Council could not pass a resolution endorsing the strikes. International legal scholars have raised serious questions. Iran's foreign minister drew parallels to Western outrage over strikes near Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, a comparison that landed with uncomfortable force in European capitals. None of this means the answers are simple. A nuclear-armed Iran would represent a genuine and historic shift in the balance of power in the Middle East. Decades of Iranian support for proxy militias has cost thousands of lives across the region. The Islamic Republic has been a source of profound repression for its own people. But war, especially war of this scale, in a region this volatile, carries consequences that are rarely contained to the original plan. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. An American pilot is still missing over Iranian territory. And the world is watching, trying to figure out whether this war ends in a deal, in regime change, in escalation, or in something no one has yet thought to plan for. This is week 6. It is, in many ways, still the beginning. We will continue to cover this conflict as it develops. The military, the diplomacy, the people caught in the middle on all sides. If you found this video useful, subscribe. Share it with someone trying to make sense of what's happening. And if you want to go deeper, the links below go to primary sources, the IAEA reports, the State of the Union transcript, the Geneva negotiation timeline. Because in times like these, knowing the full picture matters more than ever.